How are we doing, guys? Welcome back channel. Today's video is going to be the Drakania PvP guide. We're going to be talking about movement, some cancels to the movement, and how you're going to do in combat movement, and you're going to do disengaging type of movement. Then we're going to go into some of the catches and how you're going to use your movement in those scenarios. And then from the catches, we're going to go through some combos. I want to try and keep this relatively simple and relatively short. This is a new class. It's going to see changes. This guide will need to be updated as time goes on. I'll do my best to do that for you guys. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. My YouTubing is a bit sporadic at the minute, as you may tell for any of my regular viewers. But let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about that minimum skill build real quick. 1,405 skill points. Feel free to pause at any time and just copy and paste across. For your pre-awakening, Protected Stiff's the only one you're really grabbing. You're putting 3 levels into Breath. You're putting 4 levels into Flourish for your Rebalms. I'll show you that in a moment. And then you got to level up Heal. Your movement skills. Your Fang is for a Rebalm that you take as level 4. And then once you got that, it's your passives and you're good to go. So in terms of Rebalms, you're picking up these two here, and this first Rebalm they're both pretty rubbish, so pick whichever one you want once you get more skill points. Now once you do get more skill points, I would recommend coming into the Awakening, getting Flow Extinction, locking it, put it on your hotbar. I would unlock Storm Piercer, but I'd lock it during anything outside of 1v1, and in 1v1s it can be useful. I'll show you guys why in a moment. And in terms of your main skills, if you just want some damaging skills in your pre-awakening kit, this is about to get nerfed, I'm pretty sure, here soon. But these 3 are 3 extra skills in your pre-awakening you can pick up for some extra damage. The rest of it I wouldn't really recommend. Feel free though, if you've got enough skill points, you can unlock everything. But up until the point I just showed you a minute ago, that's the only important stuff that you need. Alright, let's talk about the movement and try and keep it short and sweet. All the inputs are on your screen. The very first skill made a small mistake. It's A, D, W, or S. So forward, back, left, or right, plus the extra input will do your SA movement. Iframe movement is super key. Fate Beckons, unprotected, forward moving skill, has some damage and a knockback on it. Usually used for repositioning. If you do go into your opponent, it's usually trying to kill someone that's running away that's very low health, or you're trying to set up a grab where you have to be very careful though, because it is unprotected, but it is good at setting up a grab. Next one is your Tectonic Slam. Again, is good at setting up a grab. Think of this as Shadow Stop on Ninja, but with collision. Very fast, forward moving skill. Collides, so stops when you hit someone, does a flow. Has some cancels on the end, which is also pretty useful. And you can put an SA on it with a bond skill. Sounds like you should do that, but really don't do it. I would only recommend doing that for specific 1v1s where you have to grab your opponent, but 95% of the time you're not using this bond. Next one here is Storm Maul. Fantastic skill. I think of it as an upgrade to Tectonic Slam when you don't have the bond skill on it, because it's protected all the way up until the hit. When you hit someone, it's a float that's unprotected, and then it goes into a big damaging AoE skill. It's not a massive AoE, but it's got a little bit of AoE on it, a little bit of circular AoE on it. And it's got some really good cancels at the end as well that you can cancel the AoE with, which we'll talk about in a moment. Now, Doombringer is the next one here. Mainly a damaging skill that kind of moves you a little bit, but it's really good at going up and down elevation. So that's one of the main uses there if you're not using it to damage someone. And it's got tier 3 add-ons. So your hotbar, Dragon Assault, this is your Rebalm. Really powerful skill. Is good at repositioning. Is really good at going up and down elevation as well. Massive damage at the end. Great for finishing someone off. Or it's good for getting away and then setting yourself up to get to a big PA heal in your pre-awakening kit. Now, Dragon's Advance and Eviscerate, this is a pre-awakening movement. There's also forward E, which is forward X or forward square, depending on your platform. That's your stiff that's protected in pre-awakening as well. Forgot to put that in here. And I think if you press, after you do SA dash in pre-awakening, if you press RB, which is R1, or LMB, sorry, for PC, it might also do an extra movement skill, which I forgot to put in here as well. But the stuff up here is the main stuff that you're going to be using, and I'll show you guys how you're going to use it and a couple of the cancels with it in just a moment. Okay, so let's go through a couple of the cancels before I show you in-game examples. Now, Storm Maul, at the end of it, you can cancel the final portion of the skill with doing any of the inputs for either your your Hexblood, Tectonic Slam, or your Dragon Walk, your Refraction, your Doombringer, your Dragon Blood, Tectonic Slam, or your Legacy. Main ones I like to use is one of your whichever movement's off cooldown. Preferably the iframe is my favorite cancel for this skill, and a close second to that would be the Doombringer to proc tier 3 add-ons and do some damage and make sure I can't get grabbed or any crazy stuff like that. Now, uses. So sometimes if I'm going for this skill, my opponent moves away, then I might use the Tectonic Slam as the cancel to catch my opponent, or then I might use it to just completely disengage if I need to. But it is safer to still use one protected movement skills if you're going for the disengage. And the last one here, Legacy, like technically you can go for a grab. You can cancel this skill with your Awakened Stance Switcher, then grab, but I've never done it. That's the only use maybe I can think for. The other one maybe is just pressing your RT, which is your RMB or R2, depending on your platform, to do that skill. But those are the cancels for that one there. Alright, I'm really not going to spend much time talking about this one here because Tectonic Slam and Storm Maul have the exact same cancels. The only difference would be if you use Storm Maul, you can use Tectonic Slam as a cancel for the Storm Maul, but if you use Tectonic Slam, you can use Storm Maul as the cancel for Tectonic Slam. So that's the only difference between the two. The rest of the cancels, all the same. Oh, good old movement for Awakening Drakania. Look, you guys got a lot of choices. I can't teach it to you. It's going to take time and experience for you to get the perfect movement chains for your perfect scenarios, because it does depend on who you're fighting and how they're fighting, right? So it's just time and practice until you get it down properly. But I'll start you guys off with a good tip. Dragon Walk into Refraction, or the inverse, Refraction into Dragon Walk. Try and split these two skills up. So try not to use one skill into the other. That way you're going to get a lot more range with your movement as you're learning, and then later on when you're more comfortable, then you can mix those two together, right? So to show you guys what I mean by that, let's do SA into different, into iframe, into different, into SA, into different, into iframe, into different, into SA, into different, into iframe, into different, into SA. You see what I mean? If you split those up, you're going to have a lot more range in your movement, okay? Now, in terms of in-combat movement, the way I usually move, now I mix it up a decent amount, but the way I usually move is something on the lines of this, right? I might just disengage a little bit here. And then you can also linger some essays. Well, I say it's not really a linger, but you can use some essay skills in between as well for stamina management. But that's kind of like how I'm using my movement skills around the combat scenarios. There's so many different ways you can chain it. Every movement skill chain you saw, you can inverse it, you can reverse it, you can flip it, you can move one to here, another one to there. There's so many different ways you can do it, but that's like an example of one of the ways I move in combat, right? Now, a couple of skills I didn't mention to you guys. Mastodon's Wings into Dragonflight. This is I use for hard disengage or hard engage. These are high stamina using skills. I don't use it in combat because you're blowing too much stamina. Once you get really good, there are times that using your wings might set you up for a good catch. But as you're learning, I wouldn't recommend doing that because you've got to run out of stamina. If you start putting this in your in-combat movement, you're going to run out of stamina really fast. But it is something to keep in mind as you get more experienced. Then it might be useful. But normally, I'd like to save that for hard disengages, right? Or obviously a hard engage, you're going to use it there as well. But that's the basic stuff that I can help you guys out with the movement. Alright, so let's talk about your catches. Main catches here. These two we've already talked about, Storm Maul and Tectonic Slam. You just set it up in your movement as you're moving around your opponent. If you see an opportunity, take it, CC him. Always cancel your float with another protector skill afterwards, just in case your opponent resists or you miss. So there's that. And then those are two main catches. Your next main one of the best catches in the game is going to be your core skill, Aerial Burst. Look at the range on that thing. Crazy skill. Again, setup, you're moving around, that's your setup. Once you see a target, once you see an opening, go for the stiff into KD. Another setup is if you're, sometimes I'll use this, like pretending that's my opponent, to be a little bit far away from my opponent. He might get a bit cocky and come in for a CC or come in for a grab, and I'll counter with the KD. So that's a small setup for you guys there. Another one, if you use this skill to go for a grab cancel attempt, but you get the knockback, you can go into the KD as well. Or if you just use that as a CC because you see a gap and that's all you got, you go straight into the KD from Aerial Burst. So that's Aerial Burst out the way. Now the grab. So grab cancel animations. You got 4 of them: SA dash, iframe dash, beckons, tectonic slam. All 4 of these skills give you a grab animation cancel. And a cool little tech with your dashes, at any point during the dash, you can cancel for a grab. So you can cancel halfway, beginning, end, whenever you want, right? And as you saw, really fast animation on the grab, instantly goes for the attempt, and small window for your opponent to punish if you miss. So that's why you like to do grab cancels. But sometimes your opponent is just set up to be grabbed from a different skill. Just know if you do a grab from a different skill, the grab doesn't come out instantly, and there's a massive punishing window at the end. If you miss your grab, your opponent resists. So those are your main cancels. A couple of main seat catches. A couple of tech catches. If you're in Dragon Blood, right? Your stiff. This stiff has actually got really good range. I think maybe from here I can hit him. This stiff, yeah, this stiff is crazy range, and it's to the side as well. I don't know if we can hit both of them here. Yeah, so you can see like crazy range on your stiff. So it's a pretty good catch, but you have to be in the right stance. So, you know, there is that. But if you do get the stiff, you can follow up with a stun as your re-CC, or you can follow up with Aerial Burst as a re-CC. There's also grab. This is a lot harder though. Following up, oh, I'm in the wrong stance. Following up with a grab, pardon me, can be pretty difficult, but it is another option in terms of a re-CC from your stiff. But again, I'd probably only use this in 1v1s, or if you got a lot of space in XVX, then I'd use that. But it's pretty hard to follow up on outside of 1v1s, unless you got the Aerial Burst off cooldown, since that is protected. And then another catch in 1v1s again is your stun. I actually locked this outside of 1v1. And the reason I'll lock it is when you lock it, you can do this, into this, into this. So you could do back E into back, what was it? So back X into back RB into RT. So that's back E into back LMB into RMB. And that can be a fully protected damage chain that you can put on top of someone. But if this is unlocked, once you get to the final skill, it doesn't do it, and it does an unprotected one. It does the last hit of your stun skill instead. So that's just a little tech that I use as well. And I lock this and put it on my hotbar. Cloud Strife, I've never found it useful in PvP, so I just lock it so it doesn't accidentally ever activate. But yeah, and other tech about the class as well. So if you do this skill here, Tectonic Slam, back X, back E, back square, it's always going to take you into Dragon Blood. Okay? If you use Doombringer, it's always going to take you into Dragon Blood again. And if you use Tectonic Slam or Storm Maul, it's always going to take you into Hex Blood. And I think that's all of them. Oh, and Aerial Burst is always going to take you to Hex Blood. So those are your transition skills right there. That is important for you to remember. Alright, for the last section of the video, I'm just going to show you guys combos on the screen and then combos in the game. I'm not going to do any talking just to speed this along because the video has lasted a bit longer than I wanted it to. But before we do that, one thing I will say is a few of my combos are going to have stiff extenders. Once you're used to stiff extending, it's really easy, but you have to time it properly. And things that are going to affect your timing on when to use it are going to be whether or not you got any slows on you, whether or not you have any attack speed buffs on you, and how many frames you're running. If you're on console, obviously we're a bit locked over here, but if you're on PC and you've got a lot of frames, so to give you an example, if you have a lot of frames and you have a 10% attack speed buff and no slow debuffs, then after you do this skill, you're going to have to wait a millisecond or two, just a slight little wait for your opponent to start getting to that standout animation, and then you hit them with the stiff. All right? But let's say you're on console, you got a slow on you, you want to instantly, like as soon as this skill finishes, go into the stiff. Okay? And if you're too slowed, then you might not even be able to have enough time to get the stiff off anyway, right? So again, these are circumstantial. These depend on what circumstances you're in and how you're going to stiff your opponent. So there you go. Practice it. Once you get used to it, it's super easy. All right, so let's get into the combos. I know I said I wasn't going to talk, but one thing I forgot to do is any catch with Storm or any combo you see after this catch, you could do this exact same combo, all the combos, exactly the same, if you were to catch them with your forward E instead, your forward X or forward square, depending on your platform, which is your Tectonic Slam. So if you get a Tectonic Slam catch, you could do the exact same combo as you would with Storm for all the other combos as well. Alright guys, so we're getting to the end of the video. I forgot to show you my crystal build. I forgot to show you my add-ons. Apologies, they're on your screens now. I've opted to go for more HP accessories and HP crystals rather than human damage and the Tongrad set. because you do need, you do have a couple of slower skills. You do need to take some damage, deal some damage. You've only got 2 forward guard trading skills, so I do think it is important. I'm having a lot more success with this kind of crystal build, specifically rather than human damage, personally. Combos, I didn't go too crazy and show you too many. I showed you quite a lot, but I didn't show you anywhere near all the combos you could do with this class. I didn't want to go too crazy with it, because one thing I did notice is, like, I was watching all the tournaments for Drakania, EU, NA, PC, console. Pretty much every Drakania didn't know how to combo, and that was a little bit disappointing. So I've given you some more of the simpler combos, you could say, with 1 or 2 of the best combos for damage, as well as the simpler ones, so on top of the simpler ones. So you've got the most damaging combos, you've got some easier to execute combos, and I've given you some fully protected combos, but there's a lot in between, right? Like, here you go, like, here's another grab combo you could do. It's a stiff extender, and this is a lot of damage, right? This is a lot more difficult to pull off because of the stiff timing that you have there. But you know, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't showed you because I didn't want the video to be too long or too complicated. I will probably make a follow-up video if they do make changes to the class. And one thing I guess I can tell you guys, a tip I can give you guys, is grabbing on this class is hard. So slowing with Dragon's Breath and then going with the grab, which I scuffed. But doing stuff like that, just slowing them. You don't have to instantly go for the grab, right? Slow them, move around a little bit, boom, hit him with the grab. That's going to help you with the setup a lot. But if you've got any questions, ask me. I'll try and make a follow-up video once the class gets some changes. We'll see. And I hope this has been helpful for you guys. So catch you guys in the next video.